I am Ray, and your mental health depends on this video. Kind of. Because here's the thing. When I was struggling with mental health problems, it's like this big black cloud over your life. And so it's hard to see the pathway forward. It's hard to know what to do. So sometimes you need someone else from above to come down, reach your hand, grab you, pull you up. Sometimes, forcefully. Come on, let's go. Like in Toy Story. Remember the claw? The claw. Squeeze and squeeze you up and pull you back and take you to another realm. The realm of milk and cookies, perhaps. You like cookies? We have to realize that when we are in a negative state, right? Our whole reality is being filtered through that temporary negative state. So everything that we think in that negative state has to be thrown out of the evidence. Like these dogs. I'm going to throw these dogs a banana, see how they like it. Got my dog taser. Zzz. And this is one of the most important lessons that will save you years of misery. Because when you act from a negative state, you create more problems that keep you stuck in that negative state. If you think about it, like all the things that we do in this life that create the most amount of problems for us is acting under the influence of a temporary emotion. You see, and the main cause of our mental health problems is because we listen to our negative thoughts. And if you would just stop listening to them, your mental health could improve. And of course, this is a spectrum, but from like totally depressed versus, somewhat normal, but still dealing with negative thoughts. The hard thing is that when we're in a negative state, there's a part of us that kind of wants to keep fueling that negative state. Like when you're angry, you want to be angry, and you almost want other people to feel angry too. It's like fire, just burns everything. But if we want to be free from our negative thoughts, from our own mind, we cannot listen to these thoughts any longer. Because that's literally the only thing in this life that can destroy us. It all begins with a negative thought. And that negative thought leads to an emotion. And that negative emotion leads to negative actions because, actions are influenced by emotions. And the good news is that, you can pretty much ignore all your thoughts in a negative state because they're all messed up. The data has been corrupted. But think about what happens when you continue to ruminate on it. Like you're angry at someone and you can't stop thinking about it and you don't stop and you won't stop. Well, eventually you feel really strongly like you want to take your revenge out on that person. And that is why people do that. And that is why people end up in prison. Because they can't control their emotions. Because they can't control their thoughts. And this is what it means to be a slave to our mind. And we're all dealing with this to some degree. On one level, there's serial killers who begin entertaining their negative thoughts and don't stop. And then identify with them. And then act on them. And then don't stop acting on them until they get caught. But we do this all the time in smaller ways. And if you think about it practically, how are the happy chemicals made in your body? Really, ask yourself this. How are they made? Because they come from you. All the bad, unhappy chemicals and all the happy chemicals are made in you, the body. You're a powerhouse of stuff. Bazongas. Your happy chemicals are made in your bazongas. And also everyone else's happy chemicals. We feel based on what we think or where we're focused. So if you think a negative thought, you're going to feel bad about it. If you focus on all the bad things in your life, you're going to feel bad about it. It's not what happens to you that is ever the problem. It is how you react. Because you have the power to react any way you want most of the time. But you don't ever have control of what happens to you. So if you allow your reaction to be pulled all over the place by what happens to you, you will be a slave. Up and down your whole life. And this is the secret. You only have to start focusing on the tiny little speck of light in your life. In order for that light to grow, all you need is one thing. Because you create what you focus on. And what you focus on, you create. So the more you focus on negativity, the more you create negativity in your life. And if you want to not continue suffering like that, all you have to do is start focusing on the few things that are actually going well. But when you're in a negative state of mind, you only focus on what is wrong, which is why people stay stuck. So in order to escape, you have to stop entertaining the negative garbage and at least put a little bit of effort into focusing on what is good. But here's the secret. Another secret. Instead of trying to think positive, because for most people that doesn't work, there's this quote. It says, don't think your way into positive action, act your way into positive thinking. If you can change your emotion, you already, at the same time, change your thoughts. And vice versa. But it's a little bit harder to think about what is good when you're in a negative state. So what do? You make yourself feel better first. Like going for a walk and getting some fresh air, for God's sake. Because anytime you go for a walk, even if it's like 10 minutes, you will feel better than if you did not. And if you're in a negative state, well, that's a big improvement. You could save yourself a lot of trouble with 10 minutes a day, just walking. Because think about it. If you don't kill that momentum, that negative momentum of negative thinking and feeling bad, it's going to continue and probably spill over into the next day. But what does walking do? It breaks up that momentum a little bit. You might still feel negative, but you'll feel a little bit less negative. And this is just the most practical advice for every single person. Because everyone's going to have bad feelings sometimes. It's okay to feel sad every once in a while. Unless you're emo, then you're always sad. But if you know how to deal with those emotions when they come, you already have set in place the actions that help break up that momentum. Well, then you don't allow your negative feelings to fester into negative thoughts, which fester into more negative feelings, snowball into death. And these are the kind of small habits that separate people who live beautiful, wonderful lives and people who live miserable lives. Because if you knew that all you had to do was feel a little bit better and your life would improve, well, then you would be doing more things that make you feel better. Like if you're depressed and all you do is play video games or all you do is lay in bed all day, you don't have to go from that to the best in the world. You just have to do these little tiny improvements. You just have to feel a little bit better one day at a time. Because when you feel a little bit better, you take a little bit better action and you think a little bit better. And that's how you snowball upward. That's how people change their lives. They go from rock bottom to the best. I like to use this. It's called the Behave Matrix. Be, behave, have. And everyone is stuck on this side of the equation, grinding, struggling. This is a slave sign. This is the free. The way we act is most often determined by our temporary states of being. How we feel in the moment. Because feelings influence actions. And our actions kind of determine what we get out of this life, the results. So if you look at your life right now, what you have, you can just reverse engineer it. Well, what I have right now is because of the way I've been acting. And the way I've been acting is a result of two things. My general states of being, so if you're sad all the time, you're going to act in sad ways, you're going to get a sad life. If you're angry all the time, you're going to act in angry ways, you're going to have an angry life. And, well, identity of who you are. And your identity influences your states of being. You might be an angry person, a sad person, depressed person, whatever. And so what do people do? I'm struggling, I got depression, I got anxiety, I got all of these problems that I'm dealing with. So I need to do something to get rid of them. I want this result. I want it. I want to get rid of this. I need to do something. I'm freaking out. And that is why people stay on the self-improvement hamster wheel forever, always trying to improve. Buying all the self-help books that you don't really ever read. Things like that. When at the end of the day, the better feeling version of you naturally acts in better ways, which results in better things in your life. If you were to just focus on your state of being, managing your energy, and nothing else, forget about the world, forget about everything, and you focus just on your own energy, you could create any life that you want. Because you are the source from which the effect that is your life is coming from. You are the cause. Life is not just randomly happening to you. So if you want to get a different result, you have to change. You have to change what you focus on. You have to change your identity. Because think about it. Anyone who's depressed or anyone who's struggling with mental health problems, they have a story going on in their brain that is negative about themselves and about life and about other people. That's like the definition of mental health problems. It's negative in here it's negative. But why? Why is it negative? Well, it doesn't matter why it's negative. The fact is we keep that negativity alive by feeding it, by ruminating on it, by believing things that are not true, by entertaining ideas in a negative state that we feel are true and therefore we believe them. No, this is very true. This is life sucks and people don't like me. Nobody's my friend. And I hate everybody. And I hate the world and I hate life. Screw this. Screw all you people. It's just a made up story in your brain. And we don't like to hear that because we like to feel validated like, no, I'm right, I know I'm right. I know I'm right. But that's called Stockholm Syndrome. Fighting for the very thing keeping you miserable, keeping you a slave. And you don't even realize the actual game that's going on here. It has nothing to do with you thinking that you're in control. It's the ego parasite manipulating you to feeding it what I call the monster mind. Ever heard of it? The monster mind is a parasite that feeds off your energy. And it needs you to believe these false stories in order for you to feed it your energy. Otherwise, the monster mind has no power, it has no influence. Your negative thoughts have no power or influence over you. But we give our power away to the monster mind through our belief in these made-up stories. The monster mind takes a shred of truth, a little drop, and surrounds it with poop and lies, so that you feel like it's digestible. Like, well, okay, there's a little bit of truth. It's like, here you are. No matter what your situation in life is, let's say you have a negative story in your head. And you're ruminating on it, and you think it's just you ruminating on it. There's just me here, and I'm struggling. And in reality, there is this force, unseen, manipulating you into ruminating on this negative story. Getting you to believe lies. So that you think bad, you feel bad, because that is what the monster mind feeds off of. It feeds off fear, and worry, and shame, and guilt. And unless we understand how the monster mind works, we just keep feeding it unconsciously. All of your negative thoughts are a lie. And so you can't believe any of them. Now this seems to be something that's tricky for people because I think sometimes people lack discernment. Like if you're walking toward the edge of a cliff and your mind is saying, hey, stop walking. Is that a negative thought? A negative thought is more like the story that we play about some kind of negative thing like the world sucks or people suck or the world is going down the toilet. And here is all the evidence to justify my made-up beliefs. It's World War III. It's going down. And you'll see people, they'll get really like, yes, this is true, I know. Look, I've seen the news, I've seen it. I've done my research. The worst thing you could do is research. Because it's just an echo chamber. We just look at what we want to see. We don't see reality accurately. And that rhymes. We just see what we want to see. We don't see reality accurately. The question is not whether you think something is true. It's whether or not something is serving you or not. Because the universe is perfectly balanced between negativity and positivity. There's an infinite number of both. So if you choose to focus on all the things that are wrong, it will be true for you and you will believe it. But at the same time, you could focus on all the things going right and it will be true for you equally. And you will believe it. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Because they're hyper-focused on negativity, they think that's the ultimate truth. Because there's truth to it. But it's mostly true because you're focusing on it. And if you just focused on the good things, that would be equally true. But our mind has a selective focus that doesn't allow us to look at anything that comes into contradiction of what we already believe. Unless we have an open mind already. And that is why you see, for example, religious people, they get really emotional when you start, contradicting their beliefs. Because they don't have any mental resources to actually think rationally about what they're believing. It's the moment any evidence comes into conflict with what you already believe, it's like the monster mind sends them into fight or flight so that their resources are channeled into their body, into their emotions, and not into the logical brain. Because if the resources were channeled into the logical brain, you would see through the flaws of their beliefs. Or they would see the flaws of their beliefs. The monster mind is like this little gremlin trying to keep them in ignorance. So it can keep feeding it. We have to understand our human bias. We only look at the things we want to look at. We only see what we want to see. And all the evidence that comes into contrary is ignored. And it's like, at the end of No Country for Old Men, the villain, one of the best lines in movie history, I think. From a villain, at least. As he was about to kill the person, he told her, if the rule that you followed led you to this, of what use was the rule? Meaning, if everything you believe, everything you think has led you to this place of misery or death, of what use are your beliefs? They're worthless. So you throw them out. You throw out whatever it is that led you to this place. And you can't trust your own brain. Because if you could trust your own brain, you would be living a great, beautiful, wonderful life. The evidence would be clear. Life is very mathematical. You input the right things, and generally speaking, you get positive outcomes. And this is the one piece of advice I'd ask almost everybody on this earth. I would say, look at your life right now and ask yourself, are you living a life worth living? Do you enjoy your life? Are you happy? Is your life filled with meaning and purpose? Are you living a good life? And if the answer is, well, not really, then it's because your frameworks of perceiving reality are false. They're not serving you. Your stories, your beliefs, your thoughts, they're not helping. So why not just throw them away and start, building something better? A more accurate understanding of the nature of reality. Because clearly, whatever you've been thinking hasn't been working. And all you have to do is look at other people who are successful and just copy them. Ask yourself, well, do my thoughts and philosophies line up with what they think? But what happens is that a lot of people are very prideful. They're like, no, this is what I believe. I believe this. And I'm better than everyone else. Screw you. It's like a homeless person trying to argue for their philosophy on life. What do you know? You know nothing. Now that doesn't mean they don't have some wisdom. But whatever they think led them to this, so why would you listen to them? One of the most devastating things that keeps us stuck our whole life is this silly notion that this is what I believe. Me. We take pride in our beliefs and our opinions about everything. But in truth, what do they matter? 9 times out of 10, all they do is create suffering in our life. Because they keep us stuck in the psychological drama. When we could just let go of these burdens that we place upon ourselves and that we keep alive because of our stubbornness. If we could just realize that, oh, these thoughts aren't serving me, these stories aren't serving me. What if I just stopped believing in them? Because there's no rule book that says you have to believe a single thought your mind tells you. And what you will realize over time is that it was only these stupid thoughts keeping you in misery, keeping you down, keeping you stuck. And as you begin to shed them away, your life starts naturally improving. And once you can see with your own two eyeballs that these thoughts are making you miserable, it becomes easier to let them go. Because you don't want to be miserable no more. And once you stop believing your stupid thoughts, well, the monster mind has no power over you. The monster mind can only influence you if you believe its lies. Don't allow yourself to have Stockholm Syndrome and fight for the very thing keeping you miserable. But decide to live a good life. And that, like, half the war is over when you make that decision. Because once you're pointed in the right direction, it doesn't matter how slow you go. You're going to make it. But until your mind is pointed in the right direction, you're not going nowhere. And until you decide to live a good life, there's no force of resistance against those negative thoughts. You might just accept them and say, oh, well, this is me. Life sucks. But once you say, well, no, I want to live a good life, then now you can no longer tolerate that nonsense. And until you stand up for yourself, well, who's going to come save you? Everyone's dealing with their own nonsense. You have to learn how to master your own mind. Don't entertain your negative thoughts. Break the momentum of negativity in your life. And it all begins by choosing to focus your mind in a little bit better direction every single day. And you build momentum and you build momentum. And you break free from that big dark cloud. But you can't break free until you start walking the path. And busying yourself with work and other things doesn't help either. Because no matter what, the problems in you do not go away until you face them and deal with them and overcome them. So if you go about your life just trying to ignore it, kick it down the road, the problems get worse and worse and worse. And to me, that seems like probably the biggest thing that keeps people stuck. They don't want to face their demons. They don't want to face the darkness. They don't want to deal with it. It's too much. So they prefer to just ignore it and do whatever they do. But that's like carrying a big bag of rocks on your shoulders while also trying to attend to your daily duties. Just learn how to drop the rocks first and then go back to your life. Because when that happens, everything will be better. And you won't have to struggle so much anymore. I am Ray, and if you don't want to spend years mindlessly wandering, trying to figure it out all by yourself, check it out. Monster Mind Mastery, link is below. I am Ray, much peace and many blessings. And remember, oh, just be.